write down your little A. Don't forget to do that, please.
Okay.
And also, you got to notice what's going on in the level 3 too, and you want to magnify whatever's present. If you got to hang on to that anatomy of a coaching call. If you get the gist of that,
right,
it will absolutely point to where you're headed. Because you could go into dissonance when what's wanted is resonance.
Yeah, and that's what I was worried I was doing, actually.
Yeah, and by the way, once again, one of the most powerful things you can do is just articulate that and say, you know what I'm worried about, client, right now? I'm worried about, like, we were just in this awesome place, and yet there's this kind of like weird, kind of dissonant energy showing up. Like, do you want to follow that, or what are you wanting to do? So you're always kind of articulating whatever's. If you got to worry, say it. If you have an opinion, say it. Don't turn it into a question. Say, client, do I have your permission to like give you my opinion? Sure, great. And I'm not attached to it, so I'm just going to say it over. Blah 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 blah. Like, what part of that's true for you? Or does any of that sound true to you, or is that working for you, or what do you think, client?
Mm-hmm.
That way you're unattached, but still willing to give your opinion, which is very coactive.
Right.
Yeah, if you are able to ground the little A, stay attuned to whether the energy is resonant or dissonant, and just magnify that, I think you're going to do fantastic. I want you to, those are, and then keep pulling in and out from the big to the meta view. Like, how is where we are right now serving this client's biggest life? Like, how and just like feeling into, like, is this in service of where their full expression or full expansion?
Mm-hmm. That's a really good question, because when you asked it that way, I saw immediately what your big A was.
Great. Right? You can plug in. You can feel it. You can feel it. Yeah?
Yep.
And you could, by the way, you could ask the question, like, how's this connected to your big self, if you want to. If you want to, like, throw some meta view into you can do it quietly and watch it and guide things in terms of questions, or you can simply say in a really clear way, like, from where we are right now, client, like, how is this connected to your biggest self at any point in the coaching? Or how is this connected to who you're becoming? And that way you can make sure you're serving that kind of like super duper picture.
Mm-hmm. Good. That's great.
Great. Fun,
You're
huh?
Very
fun.
Good. You're very good at
fun
this, Michael.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that tremendously. I was just saying, as you said that, it's really fun in here, isn't it?
It's what?
It's fun in here, like in the space we're creating together. I mean, it's
I know.
fun.
It's cool.
Yeah. All right. Any other thoughts or questions, or?
Yes, I'd like to make a request of you.
Sure.
I'd like to, by our next appointment, I wondered if you would like to spend an hour minimally playing with some of this new music.
That sounds really good. It feels like everything's so crazy right now that it feels really hard. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to out myself also. I'm extremely slippery. I'm really hard to get to do stuff.
Uh-huh.
So part of me is like, listen, I'm the coach here. I'm the supervisor here, so don't try to get me to do stuff,
Okay.
And the other part's like, shut up and, like, take the request.
Do it.
An ass, so, I like, it's interesting on my phone. Here's what I will do. I'm going to explore, on my phone, you can get different apps.
Yep.
And iPhone apps. And so I know that there's some music making apps. And so I'm going to take a look at that and see if there's an app I can purchase and then just start playing with, really creating that space.
And you will have the time to do that, yes?
I'm sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And would you like to let me know when you've done it, or would next week work for you?
Here's what I really want is for you to ask me at some point within the week whether or not I did it.
Okay.
Okay, if you're willing, that'd be great. So
absolutely.
So we can, we're designing it together here, because I don't want to remember, to be candid. And by the way, this is a great place with your clients sometimes. If they're as candid, they're not going to be as candid as I'm being right now, because I know what all my own tricks, or I know lots of my own tricks and traps, the way that I fool myself and the way I fool other people. to get out of doing shit.
Sure.
So, but you should keep an eye on whether or not your client's being slippery.
Yes.
And what you can push back on them and say, listen, like I was working with a client earlier today, and I said, listen, here's what I want you to do. And I said, I'm not attached to you doing it, but what do you think about that? And he goes, well, and I said, so once again, I'm not attached, but I just want to push a little harder to say, I really think you benefit from this. So it's, once again, it's like this willingness to just push, and yet you're unattached because you're
hard.
deserving. Yeah.
It's a dance.
Exactly. Yep. And that's you serving your client for real, and knowing where the edge is, how much you can push and all that.